on 97.7 FM, The City.
Greetings, blessings, and good fortune. It's the Bitcoin Otter Show here, coming at you, KCYP 97.7, The City here in McAllen, Texas. Glad to be with you as always. It's an honor to bring news to you that you might not see all the time and interact with you. Got some, hopefully, good comments coming to us. I'm going to be able to get us on the Facebook feed, okay? So Joe is on the other side with the other feeds, the YouTube feeds, okay? So hopefully we'll be going out on other platforms pretty soon. But what we're going to have now is the opportunity to interact. So I'm on the comments right now. Whoever's popping in, I'll be able to see you. We can interact, ask me some questions, make some comments, agree or disagree. It's up to you. This is what the show is all about. It's about you, preparing your family for what's to come. Who knows? Good, bad, or indifferent. It's better to be prepared and not to be prepared than not to be prepared. So I've got some stuff for you. Last week we had a great interview. If you didn't see it, we had a Miss Doris Lopez on, and she was talking about trading. Now, it could have been regular trading like stocks, and I think in the case that she was using an example of, it was the Forex exchange, and or it could be cryptos if you're into that. But it was a course, and check it out. That was last week's show, and we're hoping to get some more interesting guests on. As I have alluded to before, and I have this weekend conference call with my buddy Mike Pack, okay? He calls himself the Hollywood Reporter on Twitter. And Mike Pack was the producer of the Jenny Jones show for 9 years in Hollywood. And he did some other shows too in Hollywood. He was, rubbing elbows with the celebrities, so to speak. And at one point or another, he just said, "This is enough. I'm out of here." And he went back to his hometown of Chicago. So he ran away from that hellhole, and that's why he calls it himself the Hollywood Reporter. And he's got some people that he's advocating for, okay, and a good cause. Okay, it happens to be that he has taken up the flag of protecting children from abuse. And unfortunately, there's plenty of that to go around in our world. So we're going to try and get up a meeting, a show for you with Mike Pack and a special guest. But we're working it out, okay? We want to get attention to this, but we want to do it the right way, and we want to do it without any technical glitches. So we're gonna try and figure that into one of our shows, and I'll keep you posted throughout the week prior to it, so that you can tune in live. And then, of course, if you can't, then you got a chance to check it out at your leisure. So, as we like to do, coming into the show, we're going to apprise you of the current prices. A lot of stuff to talk about today. I'm going to go into some stuff. Again, I have the Facebook feed going. I have the comments, and anybody who comes in, I'll be able to see you. So, first things first, gold show prep today, $2,059. It's holding steady, but of course we know it's manipulated. If you watch this show for the last year, or maybe even once or twice, you're going to know gold is manipulated, as is silver. But silver is at $26.29, $26.29 for 1 ounce of silver. Get you some if you can. And Bitcoin, my favorite, 28.8. That's 28,800 of those little Federal Reserve notes for 1 Bitcoin. Oh, but you can't see it, Otter. You can't touch it. No, but you can't see or touch the money in your account for the U.S. dollar, can you? Oh, but you can get cash? Yes, you can. How much is that worth nowadays? One of them won't even get you anywhere near a Bitcoin. But we can have these conversations. You know, I got the comments on here. Just talk to me about it, and, we'll talk about it. So, average mortgage rate, not looking better. Let's just say that. The 30-year rate, 6.86%. Yeah. 15-year rate is 6.19%. So it's coming up. As anyone who is looking for a home knows. So here's some interesting things, and we'll start off with the Bitcoin news, right? The Kingdom of Bhutan, now this is in the Himalayas apparently. The Kingdom of Bhutan has been quietly mining Bitcoin for years. Wow. So this is from Forbes. And if you know anything about this kind of thing, Forbes is part of the cabal, the, how would you say, the criminal conspiracy, the Illuminati, if you will. Anyway, Forbes is one of those captured entities, those mainstream media things. So they have a certain perspective that doesn't, behoove you and I to follow. But you'll see it in this as I read it. Beneath the Himalayas, rivers fed by ancient glaciers supply the tiny kingdom of Bhutan with immense stores of hydroelectricity. The renewable resource has become an economic engine, accounting for 30% of the country's gross domestic product, and fueling the homes of nearly all of its 800,000 residents. Now, if I know anything, I know that Forbes doesn't like this. What this says is that they're nearly independent. The Bhutan people are nearly independent, okay? Because 30% of their country's gross domestic product comes from this natural resource, one. Two, it almost gives power to all of their 800,000 residents, okay? So they're in no need of those damnable solar panels and those diabolical windmills. Those are my words, by the way. So if they are able to supply 30% of their gross domestic product, these Bhutans, if that's what you call them, I'm not sure. If anybody knows, please throw it in the comments. So if they're able to do that, and they're able to supply all the residents, nearly all of the residents, with electricity from something that comes from the ground, comes from God himself, well, then what do they need of banks? So I'm sure Forbes looks at them with a jaundiced eye because they are not dependent upon the banks. And then you might say, well, Otter, the banks are failing. Yes, they are. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be dependent upon them. Not in this world. Anyway, they're depending on you being dependent on them failing. Believe me. It sounds weird, but it's true. So, let's see here. Okay, we timed out a little bit. So, going on. But for the past few years, Bhutan's royal government has been quietly devising a new use for these reserves. Are you ready? Powering its very own Bitcoin mine. Wow! Okay, so Bhutan is powering its very own Bitcoin mine. Once completed, says Forbes, this would make Bhutan one of the only countries to run a state-owned mine alongside, as we all know here on the show, El Salvador. And this is their comment here. This, again, I told you it was coming. It's concerning that Bhutan's resources have been invested in a secretive manner, says one former international advisor who asked not to be identified. I love it. He asked not to be identified. Okay. Oh, was it the author? Huh? Was it the author? Yeah. Are you an international advisor? Anyway, it's concerning that Bhutan's resources have been invested in a secretive manner. Just because they didn't report it to you doesn't mean they're doing it in a secretive manner. Okay? Clowns. So, here's an example, and this is a separate thing. But, you got any comments? Throw them up. Let me know. Modern diplomacy. This is a good one. De-dollarization. Modern Diplomacy is the publication, by the way. De-dollarization as it is, let's call the hypothetical currency the brick. So why would they say something like this? You're like, well, Otter, what are you coming out of left field with this de-dollarization thing? Well, remember we've talked about this, and you've probably seen it around if you've been paying attention, that other countries are breaking away from the U.S. dollar, from the petrodollar, from whatever you want to call it, the Federal Reserve note. They don't want to use it anymore. Why don't they want to use it anymore? Well, let's just say that years of aggression from the people who own the U.S. dollar are coming home to roost, so to speak. So in the past, be it near or distant, if you were to try and get on your own 2 feet, let's say, perhaps like Bhutan in its own Bitcoin mine, and you wanted to say to the Federal Reserve and the Western central bankers, you know what? I've got a finger on my hand that I'm going to show you, and after I show you that finger, we're going to do our own thing and we're going to have our own currency. What comes right away is Libya. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that Mr. Muammar Gaddafi was a nice guy. I'm not saying that, he played well with others. I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying is that he tried to get his people up on their own feet with their own currency, and he was going to, and perhaps did, back his currency, his country's currency, in gold. So Libya, for a very short time, thanks to the Western central bankers, was financially independent. Okay, and it comes to me just now like a jolt that I'm not giving the Western central bankers any say in this. So I'm going to give you what I believe to be their response to this. Otter, you, and then you fill in your own expletive. Otter, you, bing, whatever. Don't you know that if we didn't fight for the U.S. dollar, that you and all of the U.S. citizens would be suffering now, languishing in poverty? I think they would say something like that, okay? But they would say out loud the deplorable mention of me. Now, how would I answer that? I would answer that by saying the reason we're seeing this crunch, this financial disaster happening right now is the Western central banking system. That is the reason why we're going through what we're going through now, which is a recession. And we're going into what we're going to go into, a depression. Okay? The reason is because of these criminal central bankers. That's the reason. And, of course, we've allowed it to happen. We can't forget that we're complicit. Our silence, our inaction, our ignorance, it all comes together to one thing. We lose, okay? But we're not losing anymore. We're not going to do it. We're not going to take it anymore, okay? There was an old movie called Network, if any of you remember. Maybe pop up in the comments, but it was a good one. And I'm dating myself. But we are not going to deal with this any longer. Why? Because we have options. That's exactly why the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and more, even Mexico is applying to the BRICS now. I believe Argentina or Venezuela or both of them are going to apply to BRICS, okay? They want out of this system, and they want out now. So Argentina will start to pay for Chinese imports, and we all know how many of those there are. Can you pick out anything in your kitchen that doesn't say made in China? Argentina will start to pay for Chinese imports in yuan rather than dollars, the government announced. A measure that aims to relieve the country's dwindling dollar reserves, reports Reuters. In April, it aims to pay around 1 billion of Chinese imports in yuan instead of dollars, and thereafter around 790 million of monthly imports will be paid in yuan, a government statement said. So, what we see is, what the headline said: de-dollarization. The world doesn't want to deal with the U.S. dollar anymore because, the U.S. dollar and the people that own it blow people up. That's just what they do. You don't fall in line, we'll blow you up. We'll drone you. We'll just keep droning you and not stop. We just won't stop, is what they say. So, I'm going to close this. I think I might be wreaking havoc upon our broadcast, but I'm not sure because I haven't been able to see on other platforms yet. But regardless, I'm going to have to close down the Facebook for now. And we'll go to Zero Hedge. New footage shows El Paso engulfed in mass migration dumpster fire as state of emergency declared. So they're coming out with these, little videos, clips. And in Zero Hedge, which is where this article comes from, it's just a bunch of Twitter feeds kind of glommed together. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, where are the mainstream news? Well, I saw there that they said that even CNN was going to cover it. So I don't watch CNN, but if they're out there, please hit us up in the comments, and maybe we'll see what it is that you may have seen on CNN. But I find it interesting that what I would consider to be a major financial publication like Zero Hedge on the internet would use a group of Twitter providers. And this is encouraging. Don't get me wrong. This is encouraging. This is independent media coming together and bringing us a product. In this case, a story about what's going on in El Paso. And we here in Texas, if we pay attention at all, know that El Paso is literally engulfed in a mass migration dumpster fire, as they say. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is only the beginning. And we'll go into that a little bit later. Well, new footage from the border town of El Paso, Texas, shows a sobering view of a worsening migrant crisis that the Biden administration, liberal media, and progressive politicians have ignored for 2 years while calling anyone who pointed it out racist. Yes, because anything that goes against the regime is racist. You know that already. This also from Zero Hedge. Top officials who pushed aggressive COVID-19 policies try to rewrite history. This, ladies and gentlemen, this hits us all. So what's going on? I'll get into the story in a bit. But what we're seeing is a group of people who were part of the massive lockdown policies, the massive demands that you come into line with the mask wearing, with the vaccine taking, well, I call it a vaccine only because they do. It's not really a vaccine. It's an experimental medical procedure that they call a vaccine, so that we'd onboard it onto our biological system given to us by our Creator, and not to be messed with frivolously, such as with mRNA sequencing medical projects, which is what this thing is. So they mandated specifically that we would take the stuff into our bodies. Now they're saying, listen to this, Fauci. Let's see here if this is going to have his quote. Show me the school that I shut down and show me a factory that I shut down. Never. I never did, said Fauci. Now, I'm normally not a violent man, but if I were near that little pipsqueak, I'd be so tempted just to smack him. Just before the military tribunal got to him and he had a speedy trial, after which the inevitable sentence would occur and we'd no longer be plagued by a Fauci. So, the article goes on to say, some of the people most strongly associated with promoting lockdown measures during the COVID-19 pandemic have recently sought to recast their positions. Okay? So it's not just Fauci. It's this woman, this person, if you will, Randi Weingarten. Okay? She is the leader of the teachers union. Okay? If you're a fan of public schools, and now I'm not speaking about teachers individually, okay? Because they're human, just like us. I don't know about Ms. Weingarten, but these teachers are just trying to do their job, right? For the most part, there's always those bad apples in every bunch, right? But for the most part, teachers are just trying to do what it is they signed up for, which is teach kids, right? Now they're saddled by crazy regulations, insane lunatics like this Weingarten woman, right? All these different things that they didn't have any say in, right? So I'm not going to persecute the individual teacher, but this Randi Weingarten is of the sort that you wouldn't even want to eat dinner with this person. I know I wouldn't. And of course, our beloved Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who many people think is Fidel Castro's son. Look that one up. If you want sources, bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. I'll give you the scoop. Fauci seemed eager to shirk responsibility for the lockdowns when talking to the New York Times last week. It was the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention that produced the lockdown recommendations, he emphasized. Yeah. Now, to jump into this, Sky News, this is out of Australia, right, says, we can never forget what they inflicted on us. Sky News star host Rita Panahi fires off on Kamala, Fauci, and Trudeau. So there are people that never forget. And here's what I like in this too, ladies and gents. These people terrorized the world, okay? These people terrorized a huge portion of the population of this world. I would liken it to, and thank God I've never been, assaulted in a way that changes my mind, my mental and my physical well-being, be that physical, sexual in any way. I have not been assaulted in that way, but I've spoken to survivors. And it is a moment in a time that they never forget. What I propose is that, and this is not something that is to be done, but is already done. What I'm saying is that the things that they did to us, these Faucis, these Trudeaus, these tyrants, what they did to us in many instances was physical, okay? We were limited in our ability to go about our lives. It was financial. We were limited, some of us, to how much money we had because of what they did to us. We were constrained. We were restrained. We were assaulted. Our rights were abused. Ladies and gents, we will not forget this. It will not be forgotten. They can try as much as they want, but we're not going to forget. If we're Christian, we may forget. We may forget. Well, I'm sorry, we may forgive. Let me put it that way. We're not going to forget. We may forgive, but we will not forget. And even if we forgive, we must see justice. We must see justice. We must see a legal justice. I'm not talking about a lynch mob. I'm not talking about vigilantes. None of that stuff. I'm talking about, if not a clear, clean, and just process, due process through the courts, if, as I think, our courts are so corrupted at so many levels that it is impossible to get a just ruling out of them, then it will be on the shoulders of military tribunals. And you think maybe, perhaps, I digress, or that it is hyperbole I am speaking of. But you will see in the coming future, in the coming months, in the coming years, that this may be the way. This may be how things are going to fall out. Now, I'll give you more information, the stuff that I'm looking into, and I don't want to focus on it too much yet. I don't have a comprehensive approach to it that's presentable at this time. I may at some point. But if you want to know my source material, hit me up on bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com, and I'll send you the stuff that I'm looking into. Very interesting. Again, I'm proofreading it. I'm going through it. Ladies and gents, it looks good. It really does. Not in the sense that, oh, I'm glad this is happening. I'm glad that it has to happen. No, not in that sense. But in the sense that someone is doing something. Doubt not. Fear not. Someone is doing something about these evil tyrants. And they're losing. They're losing. If you would like a little bit of encouragement in this avenue, through this way, let me know. bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. And I'll fill you in. I'll give you my source material. So we're going through. We're about halfway through. And I just want to revamp a couple things. I want to, recoup a little bit of that time. So we started off with the Kingdom of Bhutan, right? They were doing the Bitcoin mining thing in their own country. How dare they? The bankers have to be incensed, right? And then we spoke about the border town of El Paso and it being overrun. And then we spoke about the people who pushed COVID-19 policies and how they're backtracking. And we're not going to forget it. We're not going to forget it. We just won't. Again, if you're Christian, you may forgive, but you're not going to forget it. You don't forget those kind of things. People are still wearing masks. I try not to engage them about it. I resist because I don't know how they're going to react. I don't want to confront them in an aggressive way, but I kind of want to get the message across. You've been lied to. There are even brands of masks that say right there on the box, this is not sufficient to prevent transmission of COVID-19 or any other virus. But yet people still wear them. People even wear them while they exercise on the streets. People are still wearing them alone in a vehicle. It's sad. And it was people like Fauci that did this. And we're not going to forget. Let's go on to more disheartening news. But everybody remember, you stick around. I've got some encouraging news for you. Encouraging news. Because we know who's going to win this. Regional bank crisis spreads to big banks as PacWest, U.S. Bancorp tumble. Stocks dump amid widespread liquidation. So, as you know, I have promoted a guy who doesn't know who I am. We've never spoken. And I have no financial connection to the man. But he calls himself the economic ninja. And he goes out on YouTube and Rumble, among others. But I watch him on Rumble. So, my mind's on Bitcoin. The economic ninja says that in 2008, okay, and he has a chart and everything, and he's got this, he's not fly by night, he's looked this up and he's very well versed on this stuff. So he had a chart of the bank failings in the 2008 crisis, okay? I want to say it was somewhere between 200 and 300 billion dollars were lost, something like that. Now, the video he did was made, I believe, yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. And the total was $200 to $300 billion, something like that, of all the banks that failed in the 2008 crisis. Now, as of yesterday, there were 3 banks that failed in this upcoming crisis because you ain't seen nothing yet. So these 3 banks that had failed, it was, I think it was Silvergate, it was Signature Bank, and Pacific Regional, whatever they go. 3 of them went down. But the significant thing about those 3 banks was that they, in their totality of 3, equaled the entire situation that occurred in 2008. Yeah. So the entire amount of money that was lost with all the banks of the 2008 crisis was encapsulated in just 3 banks here in 2023. Yeah. And these are the first dominoes. Again, please. This is not fear porn. Please don't categorize it that way. I'll repeat for those who may not have heard me before. The job of this show, my mission, is to alert you and to give you options to prepare. I can't force anyone to prepare. I can't even force anyone to watch the show. That said, I would like to help you prepare you and your family for what is to come. I am basing what I present, okay, on what I have studied. I have studied smart people. I have studied extremely intelligent people. And I have studied what they have put forward as a proposal of what is potentially coming down the pike for you and me. And I've been doing this for years. No one can miss the mainstream media's message. You can't miss it. It's in your face. It's like you're walking down the street and they splash. It's like a bucket of pond water in your face everywhere you go. So the canard that, Otter, you don't even watch regular news. You don't even see what they're saying. It's bunk because it is so, pardon the term, ubiquitous. It is everywhere. Everywhere. I cannot help but get a nasty, foul bit of sewage every day from those contributors. So, no, that doesn't wash. I do know what they're saying. And I roundly dispute it. Because the logic behind the people that have been studying and passing through these events year after year, cycle after cycle, okay, when you watch these people, when you listen to these people, when you read what they write, you will see. And if you don't have time, that's why I'm here. That's part of the reason I'm here. I don't know why I pour so much time into this stuff. I pour so much effort into it. I'm not sure why it draws me so, but it does. So here I am, willing to tell you not what to do, but what you might do, what you can do, what is potentially an opportunity for you. So, that being said, this is from Zero Hedge, right? So the regional bank crisis in today, this is the 4th of May, 2023, more banks went down, and that's hence the headlines. The crisis spreads, PacWest, Bancorp, tumble. So, here's them again. It also appears that soon regulators will start going after Twitter accounts. Joe, am I making this up, Joe? I'm not making it up. This is not my invention, okay? So bankers are going to go after Twitter accounts that spread rumors of failing banks, incite panic, and start bank runs. And not just today, but going all the way back to the first bank failure of the cycle, Silvergate. Okay, let me translate that for those out there that do watch a lot of television. What that means is that if you try to alert someone, your friends, your associates, family, on social media, hey man, these banks, they're going in the crapper. If you have money, you might want to get it out. They're going to do something. I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to go after, it says here. They will start going after Twitter accounts. Now you might say, wait a minute, Otter. If you just go around, yelling fire in a crowded theater, you can be arrested because that's not freedom of speech. Okay, fair enough. That said, don't you think it's interesting that they're publicizing their planned persecution of regular people for their failure? Do you not see any offlining of responsibility there? Of culpability? Do you see that? I mean, like I said, if you watch a lot of TV, your thought process has been completely obliterated and you need to rebuild it. I'm sorry. I'm not saying I'm smarter than you by any means. You could exponentially eclipse me in IQ points. I don't know. But if you watch too much TV, your thought process is just obliterated. I'm sorry. It's just, that's the way it is. That's what it's designed for. It's not called programming for nothing. So, we believe the banks are having their GameStop-like moment where social media is amplifying non-traditional approaches to assessing solvency. Like the traditional approaches have worked so well. TD Cowen analyst Jarrett Seiberg wrote in a note, oh, thanks, Jarrett, for your note. We really appreciate it, Mr. Seiberg. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy that pressures stock prices, which then leads to more questions. Oh, and we would hate questions, wouldn't we, Mr. Seiberg? We can just call him Cyborg, right? Can we do that? Would that be libelous? I don't know. So he's upset that things might lead to more questions. Correct me if I'm wrong. Come on. I'm going to try and log into the comments again. Okay? I'm hopefully not going to mess up our broadcast. I don't know what the deal is. I'm not techie. But let me see what I got here. Where is it? We're going to come up with this. See if anybody's got any comments, because this can't be just me. There's got to be somebody else out there that sees this for what it is. They're foisting the responsibility onto us for what's going on. They expect us to... Pete! I see Pete in the room. Hey, Pete. They expect us to accept responsibility for what they're doing to us? That, ladies and gentlemen, is classic abuser behavior. It's a pattern of abuse. Okay? They have abused us for generations. They have been abusers for generations. The Federal Reserve is the third central banking institution in our great nation. And this one is latched on like a leech. And it's gotten so immense, obese on us that it has become a perpetual abuser of us. And this is how abusers act. Abusers always put the blame on the victim. Don't accept it. Don't accept it at all. Open your eyes. Open your mind. Open your heart to other people also that are going through this. They're not the cause. Somebody on Twitter is not the cause. The cause, the blame is on the bankers, the Western central bankers, not the guy in the corner who's got the local bank. Okay? Not the guy who's, helping out with, city finances. Not that guy. It's the guy on Wall Street. Okay? The people that own the Federal Reserve. That you can't count their wealth. You can't. You simply can't, because they'll just create more in a computer somewhere. It'll never end. Yours will. Mine will. It'll end. If we allow them to end it, it will end. But don't buy this bunk. Don't buy this. Okay? That they're going to come after Twitter accounts. Okay? And that this Jarrett Seiberg says that this creates a self-fulfilling prophecy that pressures stock prices, which then leads to more questions. Mr. Seiberg, I have questions for you. Okay? And you're not going to like them. But I'm not going to stop. Who do these people think they are? This is from the Epoch Times. This is a good one. Chicago mayor, that's Ms. Lightfoot. Chicago mayor begs Texas governor to stop busing illegal immigrants. Yes, this same Chicago mayor that has outlawed guns so that citizens in Chicago cannot defend themselves. So, naturally, it is the murder capital, I would imagine, if not the murder capital, but they're close. Perhaps even worldwide, but definitely the U.S. Why? Because strict gun rules. Wait a minute, Otter. That doesn't sound right. So if you outlaw guns, they get more guns? Yeah. You think outlaws are going to follow laws? They're called outlaws. Anyway, this Chicago mayor begs our governor here in Texas, Governor Abbott, to stop busing illegal immigrants to Chicago. Remember, this wonderful, wonderful woman says that Chicago is a sanctuary city. It's a sanctuary to those migrants. They can come, they can go as they would like. If any of them are stopped on the street or arrested for, let's just say, killing, murdering, raping, robbing, well then, ICE is not going to be notified, because that is a sanctuary city, ladies and gentlemen. She has declared it. But now she's begging, hold on, Texas, keep them. So, our Governor Abbott replied, as the mayor of a self-declared sanctuary city, says Mr. Abbott, it is ironic to hear you complain about Chicago's struggle to deal with a few thousand illegal immigrants, which is a fraction of the record high numbers we deal with in Texas on a regular basis. Abbott's letter states, Texas border towns like Eagle Pass, Brownsville, and Laredo are even bigger cities like El Paso cannot handle the flood of illegal immigrants rushing across our southern border. He goes on to say that the lovely Ms. Lightfoot, I don't know if you've seen any, never mind. Ms. Lightfoot, he says, suggests to her that she talks to the Biden administration about this. Because, well, there's your source. And we know that there's other sources too. So, he suggested a very good thing that I know she will not do, because she's paid by the same people that they're all paid by. Anyway, hold on, everybody. hang on tight. Yeah, we're going to go through some tough times. Yeah, it's going to be rough. I know. But we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it. The Gateway Pundit says, Tucker Carlson floats plan to host GOP debate. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but on the Republican side, we have skullduggery on both sides. Please. Okay, and I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. Okay? There are nasty things going on both sides. But one of the nasty ones on the GOP side is they are formatting the Republican Party individuals, the leaders so-called, are formatting exactly how they're going to go about political debates, okay, in the upcoming the primary for the nomination of who's going to be the presidential candidate, right? So they're formatting this in such a way that the candidates, or at least the big one, Donald Trump, is not going to know the questions. He might not even know the time and place right away. So they're hiding these things. They're keeping this stuff secret so that he doesn't know. He may not even know the moderator. He may not even know who he's going to debate. Whatever, okay? They're just going to make sure that he is as ill prepared as possible to debate someone. This is by design. This is what they want to do because, well, they don't like us. They don't care about us and us getting a fair assessment of any candidates at all. They only want who they want, and that is also not good for us. So this is fairly good news if it's true. Tucker Carlson plan to host GOP debate. Fox News is reportedly agreed to pay Dominion $787 million in a defamation settlement. Now remember, we are limited as to the amount of truth we can speak on right now because we're on YouTube. So just remember that I'm not gonna say that there was. I won't say it that there was any fraud in the 2020 election. I won't say that. I can't say that. It's way out of line on YouTube. So when I'm not going to say anything about, whatever might have been in the 2020 election, Dominion had something to say about it. Okay. They said that Fox maligned them. And the biggest one, the protagonist of this whole thing was Tucker Carlson, who alleged, okay, that there was voter fraud. It's an allegation. Okay. I won't go any further on that, but Dominion has been leaking Tucker Carlson's text messages in an effort to slow his momentum as he contemplates his next move. So if you don't know who Dominion is, and you're going to love the name, right? Dominion oversees elections. Dominion is an electronic voting platform. So you go from there. You can extrapolate from there. There were many, many Democrats that really spoke out against this in 2016. Not so much in 2020, though. I wonder why. So, if Tucker has his own, I guess it's going to be outside of the GOP platform, outside of their structure. So that would be very interesting. I would imagine just about anybody, I would hope anyway, that they would open up to anybody who wanted to join in. And, of course, Donald Trump would hopefully be on that list. But that's not something the gatekeepers would enjoy. I don't have any articles on it right now, or I may have grabbed something about it. No, I don't. I don't have anything right now. But be assured that on the opposite side, well, they're not really opposites, ladies and gentlemen. Republicans and Democrats are not opposites. They want us to think that, but it's a uniparty. It is two wings of one bird. Okay, please don't think that voting one way or the other just for the principle of voting one way or the other means anything. It does not. They all work for the same people. Now, you will see some people emerge as independent with their own message, with their own particular way of claiming to want to serve the American people. Listen to these people. And if you see them being persecuted by the usual suspects, I'm saying Republicans and Democrats, then you can be assured that they have something of substance to say. And you ought listen to them. One of these people on the other side of the so-called aisle is RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I like a lot of things he's saying. Okay? He doesn't want us to be in war all around the world. Almost all the others, except for Donald Trump, want us to be in war all the time, every day. More money for them, less lives of us. They pretty much enjoy that. And we're going to have a big scare event pretty soon, and I'll get into that in a future show, but it's just an event. It's just to scare us. Now, back to this. RFK Jr. says a lot of good things. I only have one thing against him, in that he's into the mandating of this medical procedure, right? So he's into that stuff. He wants to mandate it. You want to do it, you do it. You know, that's your prerogative. You were born with freedom. God gave that to you and to me. You do what you want to do. You love who you want to love, kiss who you want to kiss, be with who you want to be with, whatever. Do what you want to do to your body. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. You're free to do it. I just don't let anyone tell me what I can do with my body, or what my kids can do or should do with their body. Okay? And no one should try to tell me what to do, or you what to do with your body, or children of any matter. Anyone's children. Because there are other people's children, Mr. Biden. There are other people's children. If they're your children, they're not mine. They're someone else's. If they're not my children, they're someone else's children. That's just the way it works. The state does not own children, nor can they dictate what to do to those children or with those children. That said, on the other side of the aisle, you know that they're going to put the screws to RFK Jr. just the way they put the screws to Bernie. I'm no Bernie fan, don't get me wrong. I'm not a socialist by any means. But they did Bernie wrong. And when Seth Rich tried to stand up to it, well, he's no longer around. Anyway, RFK Jr. is going to have a crazy time on the Democrat side, and Donald Trump is going to have an equally crazy time, or more so, on the Republican side. Going to be fun to watch. Anyway, all that news, again, is for preparation, ladies and gentlemen. I have ideas of how you can prepare. You buy some food, extra canned goods and stuff at H-E-B when you go. H-E-B is a Texas market for you out-of-towners. It's a great one, too. Buy some gold. Land if you got enough money. Silver. And Bitcoin. Because they're not going to zero. My opinion, I am not a financial advisor. You do not want me advising you on finances. However, look into these things. These are ways to prepare. Ways to get out of this rut they're going to put us in. Now, that being said, I also want to encourage you. And the first thing I want to tell you is don't give up. I'm speaking now to people who have either had job losses, troubles, or are going to have job losses or troubles. We can't give up, ladies and gentlemen. While I bring these sad events and bad news to you, I don't do it so that you'll be afraid. Not scared, but prepared, as the economic ninja says. That's what I'm here for. That's my mission. As the Blues Brothers said, we're on a mission from God. The Otter is on a mission from God. I believe this. I want to speak to you, and I'll use any platform given to me by God. And with Joe's cooperation, as I told you before, we've been long friends, but I want to let you know that you can't give up. We're here with you. We're here. My phone number, I'll give you that. 737-256-9339. 737-256-9339. The Bitcoin Otter line. Give me a call, man. I've had issues with my voicemail. Text me. Email me at bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. Okay? Now, I've been told that I don't really promote my business much. I'll give it a little plug. I'll help you buy Bitcoin if you want to buy Bitcoin. I won't try to sell you Bitcoin. No. But if you want to buy Bitcoin and you want to do it safely and get it into your own possession, call me. Talk to me. I'll help you. I won't rob you. No, I promise you. I'll charge you a little bit of money, but not a lot. Not a lot. Anyway, I want to leave you with after all this bad news, I want to leave you with good news, okay? I want to leave you with encouragement. Don't give up is the first thing I want to say. And then I want to take a little bit of time. It's not a sermon, ladies and gents, but I want to read to you from 1 Corinthians 13, chapter 13, verse 12. Real quick, okay? For now we see through a glass, darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. Especially if you're driving or something like that, you might say, "Wow, you got pretty cryptic there, Otter. Wow, what's that supposed to mean?" Well, first of all, this is from the King James Version because I think it's not cryptic. I think it's classic. I really do. For now we see through a glass darkly. We don't see very clearly, ladies and gents. Things are dark, things are obscure, things are darkened on purpose. Things are blocked from our view. The enemy doesn't want us to see the good things. So I don't want to be the guy that, is all bad, all bad. No, it's not all bad. I try to spice in the good parts. And if it's lost, I apologize. But there are good things in all of this. One of the best things about it is they're losing control. The evil one runs them. Somebody's fighting him. Who do you think that is? The author of this verse. And he's using people like you and me. How's that make you feel? That's pretty cool. So we see through a glass darkly. But then, and this speaks of when we meet him. When we meet Jesus. Face to face. For now I know in part. We know a little bit, right? We've got Bibles. We know what God wants for us, our lives, and from us, in our lives. We know that. But only in part, because it's a book of endless ideas, concepts, and blessings, but we can only dig so far. But then, when we meet him, I shall know him and everything else he wants me to know, as also I am known. Ladies and gents, he knows us. Bible says there's not even a hair on our head, and I don't have many left, but there's not even a hair on our head that he hasn't taken into account. He numbers them. He numbers them. He cares for birds in the wintertime, in the summertime, spring, and fall. And if he cares for the birds, you don't think he's going to care for us? I'm paraphrasing. But anyway, what I want to get to is the fact that there are so many things that we can grab onto and be hopeful about. If you want more, send me an email, bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. I'll be glad to help you. I'll throw all kinds of stuff your way, whatever subject you want to learn about that I touch on. If you want to learn about higher math, I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy at all. I can maybe send you someplace, somebody who knows, but that's not me. That's not me. Right? You want to know about Bitcoin? I'm your guy. You want to know about how you can find hope in a seemingly hopeless world? I'm here for you. Give me a shot. Anyway, looks like we've gone our hour. For Joe Martinez at KCYP 97.7 FM, the city here in McAllen, Texas, and myself, Bitcoin Otter, we're going to sign off, and I want you all to be blessed, guided by the great and omnipotent God who loves us all. And cheer up. Keep on keeping on. But rest when you can. I thank you all for watching this week's installment of the Bitcoin Otter Show. God bless you. Amen.
Let's go! This is the Bitcoin Otter Radio Show.
Oh my God, I love you so much!
On 97.7 FM, The City.